I know that my experience has had a huge influence on me, always striving and pushing to better myself and improve my work and be the best version of myself that I can be. But today, instead of focusing on what I didn't achieve, I try to spend more time in celebrating and acknowledging the wins that I've experienced along the way. Welcome to Imprint, a podcast about creating a home and life you love. I'm Natalie Walton, an interior designer, stylist, and best-selling author focused on an holistic approach to homes. Each week, I'm sharing insights and interviews about the creative process to help you enhance both your interiors and well-being, as well as provide you with the tools and resources to make considered and sustainable choices with all that you create. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Imprint. As we are coming towards the end of 2023, I wanted to share an idea with you that I have found really helpful, and I hope that you do too. So today is all about a better way to measure success and contentment in your life. So this might be a slightly shorter episode, but I hope it's going to have a big impact on the way that you think and feel about how you view success and achievement, or maybe lack thereof, in your personal and professional life. Because as creative and entrepreneurs, often we have a drive. We have a drive to create more, to build things. I feel like they're so closely linked, that kind of intrinsic drive that we have for both of those endeavors of being a creative and an entrepreneur, or a business owner, whatever you like to label yourself as. And sometimes it can feel like there's just never enough, that we're not where we want to be. And we can sometimes feel like we're always wanting more, to reach that next goal or that next milestone or that next challenge. And I see this in business all the time. And I also see it in people who kind of have that renovating bug as well, like that kind of always going for the next, it's like the next dopamine hit. However, when you're always striving and looking forwards and always wanting more, this can have a ripple effect. And often the focus can switch to what you don't have in your life and all of the things that you haven't achieved yet. And so then you can feel more dissatisfaction with your life, perhaps even frustration. So maybe you set goals for yourself earlier this year and you didn't meet them, or they might have been, financial goals. Or maybe there was a project that you said you were going to complete and you haven't done it yet. And it can be really easy to beat yourself up about that and feel frustrated. This might show up with you feeling defeated and feeling like, why should I bother even trying with your business? Because you feel like you'll never have the success that you want. Or maybe you think, I'm just not getting anywhere and I feel so stuck and frustrated. Or maybe you constantly find yourself looking around and thinking, everyone else is succeeding. What am I doing wrong? Why am I not getting the results that I want? However, there is another way to think about this. So instead of focusing on what you didn't achieve or the goal that you didn't reach and feeling that disappointment or frustration, you can focus on what you did achieve. Now, it might sound like a subtle difference, or maybe even to you it sounds obvious, but it's something else to actually put this into practice. It's amazing how we can know something to be true in a really logical sense, but we don't put a process in practice to follow through on what we know will help us, especially as creatives and entrepreneurs. And, as you might be reflecting on what your hopes for this year were, and how they actually materialized, I hope that you're going to find this exercise really helpful. So it is based on a book called The Gap in the Game by Dan Sullivan, who is the owner of Strategic Coach, and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And just on a little side note, I just want to say that Dan Sullivan is in his 70s and he is still working as a coach. He's got this story of he used to work in advertising like a long time ago now and built up this business called Strategic Coach. And he just has such an incredible mindset about viewing his life and being so grateful, the fact that he's still actively engaged with what he does. He loves what he does. He's built an amazing business and he's in his 70s. And I just love seeing examples of people like that. It's like, is it Delia Smith who wrote Where the Crawdads Sing? And I think she was 76, but she was definitely in her 70s when she wrote that book and, went on to be an international bestseller selling millions. So I always feel like it doesn't matter what your dreams are or how old you are. Like there's always that possibility that you can achieve them. And I had a little while ago when I was doing one of my classes it was a free class for the Styling Masterclass. And I had people in the chat saying, I'm in my 50s, is it too late for me? And I truly say this and I believe it. It's never too late. I mean, there are so many examples out there of people who are, having amazing, an amazing life. They're creating an amazing career for themselves or building an amazing business. And, they're in their 60s, their 70s. And I just always find that so inspiring to see. So it's like that idea as well of like the reticular activating system. You need to look for these people. And I feel like when I find someone like that, I always make a mental note of it because I always want to know, like we can live like this amazing life. We don't have to. I feel like so many people have this attitude like, oh, it's too late or it's time to give up or, like I'll be too old then. But so much of that is what you believe and your thoughts about that. And it's just so powerful and really important to think about what are your thoughts about that. I know that I want to, live a life rich in experiences for as long as possible. I want to have a good health span, not just about lifespan. And, for me, having a long health span is as much about, staying engaged with my brain. Do I want to be working, 9 to 5 days a week? Maybe not, but I still want to be accessing my brain and using it and feeling like I'm contributing. And those are things that excite me. So anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent, but excuse me, I just wanted to share that because I do find that inspiring about Dan Sullivan, the fact that he has built this life based on, some values and what excites him about his business and making a contribution. Anyway, so they created this book called The Gap and the Gain. And it's this idea that we want to spend more time in the gain, in measuring what we have achieved, because that will leave us feeling less defeated, frustrated. And it will actually help increase our confidence and is more likely to lead to future wins and successes. So the gap is when you're focused more on how far you are from your goals. So, you kind of see this big gap between where you are now and where you want to be. And so you see your setbacks and challenges and you just focusing on them, like what you didn't do right. And you start to question the decisions that you made. Now, the gain this is when you're measuring success on your terms and you're actually looking back and seeing how far you've come. It's really like, just think about this for a moment. How often have you sat down and reflected on, wow, look at how far I've come? I know that like this is not something that comes naturally to me. So if, for instance, maybe this year you wanted to launch and you did launch your interior design business and you were hoping to sign maybe 5 new clients in the first year and maybe you only got 1. Now, if you're living in the gap, you'll be focusing on the fact that you didn't get 5 clients rather than celebrating that 1 client who said yes to you. But if you are in the gain, you will look at what you did right with that first client and you will look for ideas on what to do next time to get more. You can ask yourself like, how can I use what I've learned looking back to help me moving forward? So you'll really look back and think, like, well, what worked there? How did I manage to get that client? And how can I make that amazing? And how can I replicate that? So you're looking for like what went well with that situation rather than just focusing on maybe the 4 that you didn't get. Now, this is something that I have really had to work through on a personal basis and be really conscious of, because, I'm going to be really honest here. Like growing up, my mom, she's from an Eastern European background. And I think many people of her generation would kind of take this approach. And some of you will definitely have had parents who were like this. But if I showed my mom my report card and I got 8 out of 10, she would say, well, what happened to the other 2? Why didn't you get 10 out of 10? Or if I showed her, some kind of like essay or paper or whatever, and it was like A minus, why didn't you get A plus? And, I love my mom and I know that she loves me, but, she grew up in a different way to the way that I've grown up. And like I said, I know that I'm not alone in this experience, but I'm sharing this because, this is the baseline that I have had to work off, is that I'm constantly thinking, like, why didn't I get 100%? Why wasn't it perfect? And I know I've spoken about my perfectionist tendencies in the past, but, I think a lot of that is rooted in this. And not to say that this is to be a therapy session for me, but I'm just sharing this because I think it really is important to know and understand what is, what are the stories that we tell ourselves. Even sometimes we have to dig it up because we're not even conscious of these stories that we're telling ourselves, these scripts that we have in our head, or these thoughts that are just automatic and we don't even question them. And so, on those days when, we might not reach those big goals, I still have to take the time mentally, and I have this little mental exercise that I do for both businesses, but to really, focus on what I have gained. And so I literally do this, like when I, if I've been running a course or with my business Imprint House and a new order comes through. I mean, I'm not monitoring the numbers all the time, but, when I will do, like I say, a daily check-in, then I will literally say thank you to that person. And I say their name in my head. So, like literally earlier on today, I was looking at Imprint House. And so I said, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Simone. Thank you, Kate. And I just kind of say that in my head because I really want to focus on being so grateful for these people who have, trusted in us and trusted in our business and, supported us and chosen us. And I am really, really grateful. And for those of, the students who've recently joined Design and Grow, like I have thanked every single one of you in my mind, and obviously, I've got processes and systems to thank automatically as well. But I literally do thank every single student. And it's this practice that I didn't always have, but it's something that I've moved in towards and closer towards and just being really conscious of that. So today I wanted to share this idea with you in case you felt disappointed about any of the goals that you maybe set at the start of 2023. And instead of looking at what you didn't achieve, look at what you did achieve. Take a few minutes today to measure backwards for 2023 or for this quarter or for this week or even for today. What were some of your successes? What were some of your wins? What did you learn? And how are you one step closer on your journey to reaching the goals that you have for your business and for your life? At the end of every day, I journal on 5 things that I'm grateful for that day. And that I find incredibly grounding. So you could ask yourself, how far have you come in the past 90 days or in the past year? And try to have this as a continual practice, schedule it in your diary so that every month or every quarter or, at the end of every year, you count your successes and wins rather than just focusing on things that maybe didn't go quite so well or as you might have hoped. And when you do this, you will start to feel more confident and you will just start to feel more content as well. You will know that I don't like the word happiness because happiness is fleeting, and I think that contentment is actually a much more complex and nurturing experience and feeling than happiness. And, if you did have any negative experiences in your past, be conscious of the meaning that you are attributing to that experience. For me, my mom always asking about the mark that I didn't get, I don't wallow on that, but I could ask myself, and you can too, about any of your past experiences, this year or before, like, well, what was great about that? What lessons did you learn from that experience? And how did that experience help shape your drive and passion to create the life that you want. I know that my experience has had a huge influence on me, always striving and pushing to better myself and improve my work and be the best version of myself that I can be. But today, instead of focusing on what I didn't achieve, I try to spend more time in celebrating and acknowledging the wins that I've experienced along the way. So I hope that this idea helps you today as we are coming towards the end of 2023. And even if you're listening to this at some time in the future, this is an exercise that you can go through, like I said, every month or every quarter, or maybe it's a year from now and you're listening to this. It is a continual practice, as I said, and I really hope that it helps you feel better about your business and your life on a daily and ongoing basis. And I also hope that it helps you grow into that next level of who you want to become. Have a beautiful week, everyone. I hope that you found this valuable. If you know of anyone who is perhaps having a bit of a not great year and maybe they've just been focusing on, some of the challenges and they could really do with a little bit of a reframe, then maybe you could share this with them. As always, love to get your feedback. You can write a comment in the review. This is episode 164, or send me a DM on Instagram. Would love to hear from you. Have a beautiful week, and I will see you soon. All of the links and info for this episode are at nataliewalton.com/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can get a direct download of the latest episode. And I really appreciate when you take a minute to rate and review, as well as share the love with someone you know who might benefit from this episode, or on social media. If you'd like to access a range of free resources, come visit my website, nataliewalton.com. Thank you to Jaeger Media for producing this podcast. And I would also like to acknowledge the people of the Bundjalung Nation where it was recorded, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I look forward to connecting again soon. I'm Natalie Walton, and you've been listening to Imprint.